Hello, my name is Tanya Melvin Bryant, and I am covering the last portion of Chapter 6, specifically Sections 6.5 through 6.8, Networks on the Inside, Networks on the Outside, Networks into the Unknown, and Managing Innovation Networks. Networks on the Inside. The problem with many companies and what they are realizing is that they have many knowledgeable resources within their organization that remain unconnected. Because of this disconnect, the knowledge spark that can create new information and innovation slows. Some companies turn to improving technology to force these connections, but quickly realize that even with this support, the real need was to improve the knowledge network in order to create useful information or knowledge. So the question remained, how to get these resources to talk to one another, to create and build on each other's ideas. What is mentioned in the chapter as the spaghetti model of innovation? Some of the early thinking on this concept exists in the 1990s as knowledge management and as early as 30 years ago during the space program when Tom Allen coined the term the knowledge gatekeeper. Also, connecting knowledge elements as a daily practice are shown in the successes of Procter & Gamble in the area of Crest white strips, oil of Olay, and other general networking strategies. Networks on the outside. In this section, the primary discussion surrounds a term called open innovation. Basically, this means that in order to move forward in a 21st century environment and be successful in innovation, companies cannot maintain a closed system surrounding their large-scale R&D projects or systems. Because there are many countries beyond the U.S. and Germany that are spending trillions of dollars in the area of R&D, it is important for companies to reach across borders and bring others into their closed systems. Again, Procter & Gamble became a leader in making these types of changes to continue with new innovations. Their new innovations increased by 45% while reducing their R&D costs. It will be important for others to reach out to what are typically small firms for R&D knowledge nuggets. P&G considered the bringing in of people from the outside and making them a part of the development and collaborative efforts on the inside a new paradigm. P&G tasked people to go out across the globe to discover and make interesting connections. They call them technology entrepreneurs. These people used a variety of ways to find ideas and cultivate connections, including the internet, conferences, suppliers, and universities. So the key to open innovation and the ability to create network connections is to open up innovative processes. 6.7 Networks into the Unknown. Much of the challenge in innovation is enhancement to and improving upon what already exists. This can include modifications to a process or adding features to a product. The desired outcome is cost saving and quality improvements. Historical evidence shows that continuous incremental innovation has an enormous economic impact. Previously mentioned is the idea of reaching out to others to collaborate and form networks to create innovation. Sometimes this connection among players can be the very thing that prevents innovation. The reason could be because of long-term trusted relationships that cause the dismissal of newcomer ideas. The challenge facing companies with building new networks is 1. Finding new relevant partners, and 2. Learning how to work with them. Once overcoming these two obstacles, high-performing partnerships can be formed. This section discusses a 3-stage process for this: finding, forming, and performing. This process can be hindered by barriers: geographical, technological, institutional, ideological, demographic, and ethnic. This table shows the finding and forming stage with their barriers. Finding is the breadth of the search conducted for new partners. Forming refers to the attitude of the partners. The final stage is performing. The challenges here include keeping the network up to date and engaged, building trust and reciprocity, positioning within the network, and decoupling from the existing network. As you can see, Zone 1 is relatively straightforward. Zone 2 has an emphasis on a new network of partners. Zone 3, easy to find but may be reluctant to engage partners. And Zone 4, neither easily identified nor necessarily keen to engage. In 6.8, Managing Innovation Networks, as we've seen so far, there's an increasing need to create and build connections among enterprises in order to kickstart more innovation. In this section, the 5th generation innovation model is used to set the mold for the phases for which we know, like in Connect and Develop, to build an increasing network orientation. This task is not easy and requires additional management skills. Also, a company's network type and goals need consideration. The setup for this model immediately becomes important. There are competing differences that companies will need to overcome, all of which depends on the novelty of the innovation and the similarity of the companies. Some of the challenges include how to manage something we don't own or control, how to see system level effects, not narrow self-interest, how to build trust, and how to avoid free riders and information spillovers. Given these set of challenges, new management skill can be broken down into 3 stages of a life cycle: setup stage, operating stage, and sustaining or closure stage. The following video is Steve Johnson's insight into framing connections and building upon them to create innovation.
For the past 5 years, I've been investigating this question of where good ideas come from. It's the kind of problem I think all of us are intrinsically interested in. We want to be more creative, we want to come up with better ideas, we want our organizations to be more innovative. I've looked at this problem from an environmental perspective. What are the spaces that have historically led to unusual rates of creativity and innovation? And what I've found in all of these systems, there are these recurring patterns that you see again and again that are crucial to creating environments that are unusually innovative. One pattern I call the slow hunch, that breakthrough ideas almost never come in a moment of great insight, in a sudden stroke of inspiration. Most important ideas take a long time to evolve, and they spend a long time dormant in the background. It isn't until the idea has had 2 or 3 years, sometimes 10 or 20 years to mature, that it suddenly becomes accessible to you and useful to you in a certain way. And this is partially because good ideas normally come from the collision between smaller hunches, so that they form something bigger than themselves. So you see a lot in the history of innovation, cases of someone who has half of an idea. There's a great story about the invention of the World Wide Web in Tim Berners-Lee. This is a project that Berners-Lee worked on for 10 years. But when he started, he didn't have a full vision for this new medium he was going to invent. He started working on one project as a side project to help him organize his own data. He scrapped that after a couple years, and he started working on another thing. And only after about 10 years did the full vision of the World Wide Web come into being. That is, more often than not, how ideas happen. They need time to incubate, and they spend a lot of time in this partial hunch form. The other thing that's important when you think about ideas this way is that when ideas take form in this hunch state, they need to collide with other hunches. Oftentimes, the thing that turns a hunch into a real breakthrough is another hunch that's lurking in somebody else's mind. And you have to figure out a way to create systems that allow those hunches to come together and turn into something bigger than the sum of their parts. That's why, for instance, the coffee house in the Age of the Enlightenment, or the Parisian salons of modernism, were such engines of creativity, because they created a space where ideas could mingle and swap and create new forms. When you look at the problem of innovation from this perspective, it sheds a lot of important light on the debate we've been having recently about what the internet is doing to our brains. Are we getting overwhelmed with an always connected, multitasking lifestyle? And is that going to lead to less sophisticated thoughts as we move away from the slower, deeper, contemplative state of reading, for instance? Obviously, I'm a big fan of reading, but I think it's important to remember that the great driver of scientific innovation and technological innovation has been the historic increase in connectivity and our ability to reach out and exchange ideas with other people, and to borrow other people's hunches and combine them with our hunches and turn them into something new. That really has, I think, been, more than anything else, the primary engine of creativity and innovation over the last 600 or 700 years. And so yes, it's true we're more distracted. But what has happened that is really miraculous and marvelous over the last 15 years is that we have so many new ways to connect and so many new ways to reach out and find other people who have that missing piece that will complete the idea we're working on, or to stumble serendipitously across some amazing new piece of information that we can use to build and improve our own ideas. That's the real lesson of where good ideas come from, that chance favors the connected mind.
So although we do not specifically hear the term networks in the video, each of the relationship that the author suggests, either short-term or building long-term, is a network. He brings forward many of the ideas of how innovation is created, its history, and the need to collaborate with others to sometimes spark innovation. Thank you for watching.